What is up, guys? So welcome to episode 7 of the Go Get It podcast. And today I got Nick Davis. Did I say that right?
Yeah, Nick Davis.
All right, awesome, man. And why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? He's a very strong guy. Following is growing on Instagram a lot, and I wanted to get him on here before he fucking blows up. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi guys. I'm Nick Davis. I'm 20 years old. I go to school at Slippery Rock. I actually just switched over to become an econ major, so we'll see how that goes. And then on the side, I like lifting heavy weight and just working out. Honestly, it's just always been a passion of mine, or at least the last 6.5 years has been.
And we talked a little bit. Sorry, and we talked a little bit before this, and you said that you were also previously kinesiology, correct?
Yeah, for a little bit.
Okay, gotcha. And basically, what I wanted to ask you first is, what really started getting you into fitness? Because I know a lot of people have different areas, like some people just start for the attention. Some people like, oh, I want to feel better about myself. Sports. So, what was your main reason to start getting into lifting?
Honestly, man, at first it was I actually played football in high school, so that's kind of what got me into lifting to begin with. It was the end of 8th grade. We started lifting Monday, Wednesday, Friday, just like your regular football routine. So we would like squat, bench, clean. Those were like our 3 main lifts. We didn't deadlift, and then it was just a bunch of accessories like 3x10s, pretty simple stuff. But yeah, that's kind of what like started it, honestly, and like first got me kind of like introduced to it.
I got you. And I always feel like sports like football, wrestling, even baseball, like sometimes like the programs that they have, like especially high school athletes do, it actually is pretty foundational on the key compound lifts that we're going to be talking about today for the most part too.
Oh, yeah, 100%. It's really not a bad program at all.
Like that's what kind of got you, like that's what kind of introduced you to not only lifting, but also like the key compound lifts, right?
Yeah, 100%. And they teach you there, which is very helpful. They have like a trainer that actually is like there lifting with you most of the time. So it's honestly a good way for anyone to start. And I feel like a lot of people have that same story.
Like high school sports initially got them into that. What position did you play in high school?
I was actually wide receiver and linebacker for the most part.
I got you.
So yeah.
Did you ever think about carrying that on to the college level, or you were kind of just like, let me just
honestly
for now?
No, I definitely did think about it. My biggest regret, honestly, is not playing again senior year, because I actually dropped out of football sophomore year, so I could just focus on my own lifting. Because I liked their lifting program, but it was like I wanted to get more serious about like making these gains, So
I got you.
I ended up just kind of like, the main reason I dropped out of football was just go like 100% lifting 6 days a week, like change my body, because that's kind of like one of the big reasons I was in football is like I didn't want to be fat and like I wanted to be jacked. So
I got you.
That's kind of how it all started.
And a lot of people don't think that's possible. Like a lot of people think like, oh, like I can't be like, I can't be ripped and strong. Like that's impossible. But you're living proof. I feel like I'm fairly lean for the strength levels that I'm at. Like it's extremely possible. And we'll go over a few things later in the podcast on how exactly you can achieve that. So you mentioned you started training around 8th grade. So what age did you start taking training seriously? Because you just hinted at that you said that you quit football to focus a lot on lifting. So
yeah, dude, it was literally like I like flipped a switch, and I was kind of like skinny fat. Like if you saw my day one pictures, man, like you would not be like, this kid has genetics or anything. You would be like, how's this kid been working out for a year and a half? But I was also young, like I hadn't like gotten my growth spurt and everything. So I'd say the age I really got serious was sophomore year. So I was like 15 and a half, and I dropped football. Started every morning. I would wake up and do like the 7-minute ab routine, and I actually like the first thing I did before like all this like building muscle was I actually like cut down, and it was like not a smart way of doing it. It was like I want to be lean for once in my life, and I like basically stopped eating for like a whole summer, except for like protein, and I'd still work out. And it was not the way to go. Like I have like videos on my phone where my arms are like toothpicks, dude, and I'm doing like abs and stuff, just trying to like get to that level of leanness that I've never been to.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of like,
And a lot of people, like you are most certainly not the only person. A lot of people think like, oh, like in order to get lean, I just have to, double up on protein and cut out carbohydrates and cut out fats. But why don't you go ahead and like give your perspective on that now that you kind of learned the consequences behind that, and what best advice would you give to someone that's thinking that right now as they're trying to cut weight?
Yeah, that's not the way to go about things at all. Like, people think carbs are the enemy, and I mean, it definitely depends on your body and how you react to like carbs, fats, and proteins. I mean, everyone pretty much reacts to proteins the same, but some people can go like higher fat diets even when they're cutting and like keep the carbs low. But if I do that, and if a lot of people I know do that, your strength just like it hits it like so hard, it's bad. And so I would honestly recommend, straight up, all it takes to like lose weight is a calorie deficit. And if you can be smart about it, man, like I would not cut out carbs, like honestly, at all, unless you're like getting show ready or something. But carbs are so vital to training that like what I did was stupid, so don't do that.
Exactly. Like you did, yeah, like you did, because I kind of did a similar thing too when I was in high school, and I just like didn't feel like I had the energy levels anyway, and to even train optimally. And what you want to do is you want to gear your food towards training as optimally as possible. So if you're not feeling 100%, then your training is definitely not going to feel 100% either.
Oh, dude, yeah, 100%. And like, if you're not giving it your all in the gym, then you're not gonna like be preserving the muscle mass if you're gonna be cutting that fast anyways. Honestly, cutting fast is just never smart, unless you're like very, very overweight. But still, there's better ways to do it long term.
And you kind of mentioned that different people react differently to higher carbohydrates or lower carbohydrates, but I would say a general guideline, and no, you're 100% right on that. Like some people get really bloated off carbohydrates. Some other people like thrive off really high carbohydrates. But a general rule of thumb, I would say for like just a starting baseline of a person, I would say keep your carbs at like 45% of your whole calorie.
Oh, yeah.
I would say like that's me personally, but I don't know. What do you think about that?
No, I completely agree. I think it depends because like obviously if you're younger, you also have a faster metabolism usually. So like when I cut, even now, I still have like at least 50 or 60% of my macros coming from carbs, or my calories coming from carbs. But yeah, that's definitely a general good rule of thumb. Just healthy carbohydrates and like 45% ish.
I got you. Yeah, and again, I 100% agree with that. So why don't we kind of go into, because a lot of people kind of ignore this. A lot of people blame like some people's entire results solely based off this. So that's genetics. So what role do you think, specifically for strength training, do you think genetics play? Like what kind of factor do you think genetics play in strength training?
Honestly, man, my answer is like, I think that too many people say that, oh, bad genetics, and then like don't go for it 100%. And because I don't think that I have superior genetics, honestly. Like if you saw my day one pictures, that's after a year and a half of training. Like, yeah, I was younger, but like if you saw them, you wouldn't think anything of it. Like I didn't look like a jacked up 15-year-old or anything. Neither did my little brother. And we're both like, I would say we have decent physiques now. And like, I wouldn't say our genetics are superior at all. I just think like strength training is a matter of just giving it 100% for years. And then you can say you have bad genetics. But even then, I feel like it's not something that should hold you back ever.
I got you. And yeah, I've had people come up to me and just be like, yo, like, I'm sorry, but I'm never going to get to your level. Like your genetics are just like, you know, like too far, something like that. And first of all, like 100%, like, I don't think that's true. Same thing goes for you. Like we both just work our asses off. We actually focused on pyramiding strategically to get stronger. Like we specifically focused on getting stronger for a certain period of time. And for someone to just come in here and tell us like, hey, like, you know, like you just were born that way. Like, no, it's not true. Like maybe we might have had a slight edge because of our genetic makeup, but we still had to initiate the training in order for it even to come out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah, there's just very few cases where I would say someone should just be like, oh, screw this because I don't have good genetics. I just think that if you don't give it your all for at least a year or something like that, or like you know what you're putting in. You know, if you're putting in so much work and you're getting no progress, I don't know. Like I just don't like the fact that people let genetics hold them back.
Exactly, and it makes them like lazy almost, and it's just like feeds them more excuses to not go. Like,
exactly.
You know what? Like
it's an excuse to not give it your, like try to make the transformation. If you really want to make it, like give it your all for a little while, see how that turns out. Because I mean, you might be surprised, and I almost guarantee you'll be surprised.
Exactly. And I think you and me, are like a good mix of how you can have decent genetics and then, but you can still strength train and then have really, really good results if you stay consistent with it though.
Yeah.
So,
like I started from nothing, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Like my like lifts were not good at first. My deadlift was actually my worst for dude. Like, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what do you deadlift now?
655 was my best, and that was like
Jesus.
when I was around 187, I think, and that was months ago. Like I haven't deadlifted in a while. I've just been focusing on my squat lately, but I can't wait to get back to it.
I got you.
That 700. Yeah.
Dude, that is crazy, man. Like you're 20 years old and you're deadlifting 655.
Yeah.
Shit.
That's it.
All right. So why don't you kind of go over some what kind of made you realize like, all right, this deadlift is really strong, and how did you kind of keep maximizing on that, and maybe some exercises that you did that helped you realize like, okay, this is helping me a lot. Basically like where did your transformation go from 0 to 60 type thing?
So this is actually kind of a crazy story. So the first thing that I did was so I was like younger, so I feel like when you're younger you have like a little bit more, like your recovery is a little better. And I would do this kind of like dumb thing where I would have legs twice a week. I was on like the push pull legs, or legs push pull, legs push pull. And I would always deadlift first and then squat after, which honestly, like for most people now, that's just like it's Snap City, 100%. Yeah. But I did it for like years, and I can't do it now. Honestly, I feel like it's just too much. But
you separate the days, right, of deadlifting and squatting?
No, I didn't. That's what I didn't do for a while.
Oh, but I meant like now you separate it though, right?
Oh, yeah, I would separate them now. I just haven't even like done deadlifts in a while. I've just been like focusing on my squat twice a week. But yeah, I used to do one of my like favorite rep schemes, or like my ways of going about strength training would be pyramiding up to a top set. So I would do like a 5x3 or like a 5x4 or a 5x5, but I would actually start with like 405, make sure my form's perfect, like just move it really fast, be explosive off the ground, and then I'd go like 455 for 3, 475 for 3, and I would kind of pyramid up to this top set of 3, which was almost like a max effort set. And I would just kind of like cycle the rep scheme. So it would be like 5 sets of 4, but I'd pyramid up to that top set. So it's like each set would make me like more confident in hitting the next set as fast as I can. And then by the 5th set, it's just like a top set, almost all out. And that would be like the video I get and put on Instagram or whatever. And that would be kind of one of my favorite rep schemes. That's actually the same thing for bench though too. I like always liked kind of pyramiding up to a top set. But that's honestly like one of the bigger things that I did a lot. Another like a great accessory I would say is if you're doing sumo deadlifts, do conventional deadlifts. And if you're doing conventional deadlifts, do sumo deadlifts. There's actually been plenty of times throughout my like career or not my career, but throughout like working out, where I would straight up switch going from conventional back to sumo. And I'm talking like 3 months of just doing conventional work and like trying to get that up. Okay. And then I'd switch back to sumo, and within a month it would be like a new 1 rep, you know?
Really?
So yeah, it helped me like so much. And it was so weird, man, because when I like first started like caring about deadlifts or like trying to get my deadlift stronger, I was so weak. Like I remember doing 275 for like an all-out single when I was like 16 and a half, and like I've been training for like 2.5 years, and it was just like the hardest lift for me to learn. But once you get it, it's just one of those things. It'll just gotta stay tight and like exactly.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I've never even like really thought about that. Like I mean, it was kind of in the back of my mind to like switch sumo and conventional and then sumo and conventional, but I've never done straight phases of just training conventional and then switching straight phases to sumo. So that's something I'm gonna take away from this podcast at least. So I think people should definitely be listening to that, because what you're basically saying is don't be a slave to one or the other, because that could actually be more detrimental than you think.
Oh, 100%. It's just one of those things where it's even the same thing for bench. If I start to stall for too long, you just kind of have to like scope out your weak points and see like your weak point in the lift. So like if it's your lockout strength or something, you better start doing like overhead press for a while and actually making that a priority. Because if you're always benching before overhead press, then you're not gonna be able to give your front delts your all. You know what I'm saying? And if that's a weak point in your lift, then it's something you got to get up. So it's honestly just I just straight up switch over because you can always go back. So I would switch over to like overhead pressing or like seated overhead press or seated military, and I would just do that for straight up a couple months, trying to make progress, hit rep PRs, you know. And when I go back to benching, it's just amazing after like a couple weeks of like getting your motor pattern back down.
I got you. And I kind of want to just quickly go back to deadlifting. So just to wrap up on deadlifting. So you were saying that switch up your stance. That helps a lot. Is there anything else, like any other certain exercises that you found very helpful that's going to increase that 1 rep max?
Yeah. I actually love doing like RDLs, like barbell RDLs. I think those are very good for like honestly just building hamstring strength in general. And if you get strong with those, man, like I think it just transfers over very well.
I got you.
But yeah.
And also one exercise that I felt that increased my deadlift. I don't know if you've tried this one. I feel like this is kind of underrated, but reverse hypers. If you have one, I
love them. I love them straight up.
I actually talked about this in my last podcast because at my gym in my school, it's kind of just like a machine that people put like water bottles on and stuff like that. I'm like, yo, this is the most valuable machine in the gym, and you guys are treating this like a cup holder.
It's definitely underrated. Like if you can, it's so hard. Like people don't understand how hard they are to do. But once you can get down to like 4 or 5 sets of like 10 to 12, man, like body weight even, like you're definitely gonna get some serious. You're gonna see the gains from it. Let's just say that. It's a very good exercise.
Absolutely. And I definitely agree with you with RDLs and even variations of RDLs too. Like I love doing single leg RDLs because it involves a lot of core, a lot of stability, which also is going to transfer very well over to the deadlift as well. And the one that I wanted to mention is glute bridges. And those are kind of like, or like barbell hip thrusts. There's like different names for it.
Yeah, hip thrust. You're right.
Yeah, because I feel like when you're doing that movement, you're kind of almost mimicking locking out the deadlift.
Oh,
and also 100%. You're engaging your hips a lot. So like hips, hamstrings, glutes, that's all getting stronger, and those are all movements that can transfer over to your deadlift as well when you're locking out, whether you're doing conventional sumo. So I thought that was a good exercise. So anything else you want to, any other exercises that you think have been very, very valuable in building your deadlift?
Honestly, man, like, see, my back was never my weak point, but it's just one of those things where if you have a weak point, pick exercises that can bring that weak point up. Like for me, like you said that you did a lot of like hip thrusts and like barbell hip thrusts and stuff like that. And for me, my lockout's never been like my weak point. It's always off the floor. So I'll be doing more like RDL, stuff like that, build up my hamstrings because that's my biggest problem versus like working my glutes to like get the lockout strength because I just know what my weak point is and I just prioritize exercises that bring that up versus like other things.
100%, 100%. And that's the difference between like running like a regular plan that you buy that's kind of like pre-made and having a customized plan. Like it's going to be tailored to your weak points. And how would you, so can you explain how you would expose those weak points in your deadlift again? Just to reiterate.
Yeah. So if you like struggle with getting the bar off the ground, so say you're going for ground slow and you just like lock it out really fast, then your problem, and then you like go 405 and it just doesn't even move off the floor. Your problem is 100% weak hamstring. So like stuff like RDLs, honestly, anything where you're just like working your hamstrings in like a bent over position, like make sure your form's good, everything, your back is straight, is just what you're gonna want to work on. Versus like if you're struggling after the knees or right at the knees to like lock out the bar, then you're gonna want to like strengthen your weak points, being your glutes. Honestly, your glutes is like a big one. Or what would you say for upper back? I would say if your like back is rounding at the top, definitely you're gonna want to do like bent over rows or something like that.
Bent over rows, I would say. Sometimes face pulls are pretty good. That's a lot of rear delt, not as much upper back, but it works a little bit of both. You could do dumbbell rows as well, and then kind of angle it so you're hitting more of your upper back as opposed to your lower lats. You know what I mean? So you would kind of like reverse the grip, and instead of rowing just like this, you would switch it and then things like that. So upper rows also would be very good for that. And I think that would definitely help out with building your deadlift. So let's move on to your bench press right now, which is absurd, man. Like I don't think I'm gonna be hitting 315 for at least like another year or two. So what's your current bench 1 rep max right now?
So this was with the quarantine strength that I got from eating too much over quarantine, but
Yeah.
my bench went from like 350 at like 190 to 365 at around 200 pounds body weight. And honestly, like that's like I'm just like so happy that I finally got 365. Like I'm just not even flat benching for a while. I'm just working on like more bodybuilding type stuff, getting my shoulders up, getting my upper chest up. But I just can't wait to like get back in like a couple months or so and start working towards that 405.
Mm-hmm. Dude, that's crazy, man. You got to get into powerlifting meet like sometime soon because I feel like you could break.
Oh, I know. I was signed up for the USAPL nationals.
Really?
But the thing is, man, like I can get down to 183 because that's what I actually competed at as a freshman in the USAPL meet I was at.
Yeah.
Was 183, and like just the last time I was 187 was me trying to get down to 183, and then like a week out from the meet, I was like, there's no way I'm gonna be able to hold my strength. I was like 187, and I had a week to like lose 4 pounds, and I was like, dude, all my water weight's already out. Like, there's no way I'm getting down to 183 and holding any strength. So I had to compete at 205 and under. So it was kind of rough. But
I got you.
I still made nationals, and then nationals got canceled because of Corona. But
and is there a powerlifting team at your school?
Yeah, we have a powerlifting club actually.
Okay, I got you. Yeah. Because my school has one too, and I just I wondered if you guys competed at some point at the same meet or something like that. So
yeah, that's what happens usually.
Yeah, and so what exercise? So you said 365 bench, which is fucking huge bench for a 20-year-old, any 20-year-old. So even natural or not, and I know you're natural, but like, dude, that's a crazy bench, like regardless. So what started building your bench, you think? Like, where did you start and what key exercises got you to where you are right now with your bench? Because I need to listen to this because my bench has been stagnant for a while. So
honestly, man, it's okay. So the first thing I was saying, like same thing with deadlift, like bring up your weak points. So if you're struggling at lockout, I think that seated military is huge for that. I think a lot of people agree. Like if you're struggling to lock out, obviously like a lot of it's triceps, don't get me wrong, but I think that building your like seated military, and I would say OHP, but it's just the fact that I think that overhead press it's a full body movement. So it's like great for stimulating the most muscles you possibly can. But I don't think that you need to be stimulating your core to like get a stronger bench as much. So like I would say seated military, you can lift more weight. So you're getting more load on your front delts specifically. And it just is a better transfer over to like a bench press lockout, in my opinion. And then also just getting your triceps up if like the lockout's the issue. So I honestly do anything. I don't really do too many specific things. Like obviously close grip bench is like what anyone's gonna say. But for me, if I'm just getting stronger at all my tricep movements, like one of my favorites, dumbbell overhead extensions. If I'm getting stronger at those, if I'm getting stronger at push downs, going up in weight, it just transfers over really well to me.
I got you. That's an interesting one too that you said overhead press, because you're right. A lot of people would have just been like, yeah, just focus on your triceps. And honestly, that's what I was going to say too. But I just now realized that my strongest overhead press ever was 90s for 3. And that was also when my bench was at my strongest. So I think you make a really, really solid point with that. And that's like not a typical answer. So I think that's
it's really not, but it is like, it's surprising how much seated military or just anything overhead pressing helps your bench press. Like, because I know when kind of just means, okay, time to go back to bench that I can do, and then prioritize bench first in the lift for like a couple months, and then usually I just make some like either rep PRs or like a new 1 rep max. It's just a huge carryover to me, or for me.
And what rep scheme do you use? Do you use the same kind for bench and deadlift, right? You mentioned something like that, right?
So like a lot of times I'll pyramid up to a top set. And so if I'm doing like a 5x5, same thing, I'll start lighter. And just a huge thing with bench, man, is like you have to like stay tight and do the exact same movement pattern every single time. Like you just have to like lock in your bench form. And one of the huge game changers for me in the last 2 years was learning how to use my lats when I bench. So I actually was on this split for like the longest time. It's like it's more of a bodybuilding split, honestly, but it's just great because it has a chest back workout. So in between my sets of bench, even when I'm warming up, I'm hitting like my pull-up sets. So it's like I have like a lat pump, which I can like really twist the bar and like pull into my lats, and it's just like it was such a game changer. And that's honestly like one of the huge reasons I was able to hit that 365 bench over quarantine, is because I was doing those chest back workouts every fourth day. And it just makes you feel so stable, and like it's just about staying tight with the bench. Like if you feel like you're pulling the bar down and then pressing the bar up, and it's the exact same movement pattern every single time, you're gonna make progress if you're eating right and have all the factors like dialed in. But that's a huge one, is learning how to use your lats when you bench, because it's a big game changer.
That's something that I also haven't. That's something that I haven't mastered yet myself. So like, would you say it would be optimal to at least warm up with some back exercises before you bench, or do you think supersetting and a little bit of back exercises while you're warming up, like doing your warm-up sets would be beneficial?
Either way, like I just did it because it was like most of my chest back workouts were supersets anyway, so it would be like I just love working out like that. So I'll do like my set of bench, and then I'll take like a minute and a half, do my set of pull-ups. It's just like very efficient, but it's also one of those things where if I'm hitting a set of lat pull downs, like a working set, in between every set of my bench, then I'm just going to have like the most maximal like lat pump that I could have for my next set of bench. And I just personally am a big fan. But even when I wasn't doing that, even when I was just doing like the legs push pull for a while, I would always do either like pullovers to really like engage your lats first, or pull downs. And honestly, it doesn't make too much of a difference whether you're just engaging your lats beforehand or if you're doing it in between every set. But as long as you can just like, you have a little bit of a lat pump and you can like really feel pulling the bar down into your lats, I think it's just such a game changer for like honestly getting your movement pattern just down to a T.
I got you. And are you big on using dumbbells or like kind of adding variation like dumbbell exercises, maybe like dumbbell floor press or something like that? Like when do those come into factor in your training?
I've personally never used any floor pressing. I've done like, I do like plenty of incline. Like honestly, like I usually just do like the standard what everyone does, like bench and then go to incline dumbbells next. But I think there's a time and a place for it for sure. I think that if lockout's your issue, it's better to be doing floor press than to be flat benching, you know. But again, it's just one of those things where you have to try it out and see how it works for you, kind of.
I got you.
But yeah.
And you said that like the deadlift. So the deadlift has the conventional and the sumo. So would you like use variation? Would you throw in like pause? Would you like a whole phase of like pause bench and then go back to regular, or would you usually just stick to regular bench?
No, actually, it's I like almost always pause. Like that one video you shouted me out with, I think is the first time I've done touch and go, except for rep out sets, which I want to talk about in a sec. But that's probably the first time I've done touch and go bench in like literally in the last 2 years. I've maybe touch and go bench twice for my actual working sets. Like I just feel stronger when I like pause it and then explode off.
And you feel like legit, you know what I mean? You feel legit. You feel like it was a legit rep, like as opposed to just like, you know, getting that momentum, like, and then just like kind of bouncing it off your chest. Like, no, you come down slowly, you stop, and then you're using your triceps, your shoulders, and your chest to actually press it, as opposed to
press from a dead stop. Yeah, no, 100%. And then also a huge thing for benching, dude, is like when I do that, I don't sink it into my chest. Like I see too many people losing tightness by like letting it sink into their chest and then exploding up and just like losing their shoulder. Like their shoulders should be like staying tucked, but it's like they lose all that tightness. And tightness in the bench, same thing with any of the three movements, honestly. But tightness in the bench is like so important. Like when I do my pauses, it's like I control it, feel that pause, and I'm just like so tight in my lats, everything just feels tight, and I just explode up. And it's like you don't have to like sink it in. Like you'll get way stronger just by learning that, like barely touch on your chest, hold it there for a second, explode up.
I got you. So when you're doing pause, don't let it come let it come all the way down, but don't just like let it sit there for a little bit. Like as soon as it touches, stop for a little bit and then just explode up, like you said.
Yeah. So if you're doing touch and go, don't slam it on your chest ever, because that won't get you stronger. And if you're doing pause reps, either way, it's just like barely touch on your chest. Like I'm talking like feather touch on your chest. Just get that motor pattern now where you're just like getting it to your chest. You're not sinking it into your chest. You're not using your chest to like propel it back up. You're just barely touching it, holding it there for a second, and going right back up. And it's just, you have to learn that explosive movement pattern just down to a T, where you're just barely resting on your chest and exploding up, because you're just getting that locked in. And that's just, it looks legit too, like when you do it like that.
Yeah.
And it just gets you stronger because it's the exact same movement pattern every time, versus allowing the bar to like sink into your chest and then like using that like kind of bounce to like press it back up.
And you said you wanted to say something about rep outs.
Oh yeah, so a lot of times, this is what I was doing like a ton over quarantine, which I don't really do unless I'm like really trying to push over a plateau, or I'm just like really focused on my bench for a while, just because it like takes a lot out of you. But if I'm doing like say a 5x3 or something, after I'm done with those sets, I'll do like an all-out rep out with like 225 and try to just like either beat my last one or like get close to it. And sometimes I'll even do another set after that with like 185 and do like spot press or something. But I think that if you're not doing rep outs after your like heavy sets, if you're trying to get a stronger bench and you throw that in, it will be a game changer.
Rep outs. And like what percentage lower, like if you're, what weight would you do the 5x3 for, and then what weight would you do the rep out for, you think? Like what percentage would you decrease it? Yeah.
So if I was doing, say, I'm doing a 5x3, starting with like 285, working up to like 325, 330, then I would do my first rep out. Honestly, I just like do the 225 rep out usually, just because that's where I'm at. But I would aim for a weight that you can hit between 12 and 15 times with like good form. And I don't mean bouncing off your chest. I mean like barely touching your chest right back up, because it just locks in your motor pattern really well. And then at the same time, it's just like, it gets a lot of blood to the muscle. And like I personally, and like if you're hitting 225 for a set of 12, then the next week you hit it for 13, and the next week you hit it for 15, like you're making progress. So it's just one of those things that I don't use all the time, but if I'm trying to push past a plateau and really focusing on my bench for a while, it's something that I use a pretty good amount of times.
Okay, I got
like a pretty good amount of the time.
And how many times, like how often, you said when you're plateauing, so would that be like maybe throw that in there like once a month, like once a training cycle type thing maybe? Just to make sure you're progressing from the last training cycle?
Yeah, or even more frequent than that. Like when it's more just if I'm going to be like benching as my first movement for say 2 months or something, and I'm just like, I want to see if I can get a new rep PR or a new 1 rep max or something for this 2 months. Like I've been training all my weak points. I've been doing my military first for a long time. Then I'll hit that almost every workout, honestly, after my sets is like a couple rep out sets. But I've always like, ever since I started, I don't think it's something everyone can do. I think it's still just because I'm also young, but like so many of my sets for even the compounds are kind of close to failure. So like, that's why I think I'm such a big fan of those rep outs. But I mean, it's been working for me. I don't know if it's always going to work for me, because I know I'm still like young now, but I'm a big fan of like trying to beat rep PRs, because like obviously that translates.
I got you. And you say that at one point it might not work for you forever, but like even if it doesn't, like for someone like me, I don't really do rep outs like that. It's probably going to increase my strength because I'm just not used to it. And just adding a new stimulus to the muscle in general, that would be a good stimulus, because it's a way for me.
Yeah, that's a huge thing for it. Yeah, because I know even this one guy that has trained with me a couple times. His name's Tim Lewis, but he always does heavy training, never does rep outs. And then with me one time, I was kind of like, oh, I'm gonna do a rep out. And he's like, oh, you know what? I'll try it. So he did a 225 rep out, and then since then, I've been seeing on his Instagram, he's been doing those 225 or 275 rep outs, like after he's done with his sets. And I'm just noticing like his rep outs have gotten way stronger than the last time that he was lifting with me, which wasn't even that long ago. And I've also noticed that like he's getting like all-time best sets of 3 and like all-time best sets of 5. So I just think that if you're not doing it, it's something you should try. If your bench form's locked in, and even if it's not, it's a great way to like get better at bench, just doing those rep sets.
I got you.
But yeah, it's definitely just a matter of like the new stimulus to the muscle being after your heavy sets when you're hitting like the rep out set. It's just I think it works personally, but it's something everyone should try out if you haven't.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, so I kind of want to wrap up the bench because we did talk a lot about it. Really good stuff. Is there any ending points that you want to feel like you missed or something like that, or you think you covered the bench to your full abilities?
Honestly, like obviously, like there's so much more like leg drive.
Mm-hmm. You can go ahead and think about that for a little bit. I don't mind.
Yeah. So when it comes to leg drive, I have to get better at. I know like USAPL, you need to be like heels on the ground,
mm-hmm.
and I've always like done like the toe up, like arch your back as much as you can.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've done a very similar thing myself. Yeah.
Yeah, and I still feel stronger with that, and so that's just kind of what I do when I'm not like preparing for a meet. But it's just a huge thing to like learn to use leg drive just in general. If it's possible, if you like plan on competing, I would definitely learn with your heels down because you have to do heels down in a meet. But either way, you just want like to be pushing like through your quads, like through the ground, and you want to be pushing back. You don't want to be pushing like in or anything. You want to like keep your feet kind of close to the bench, I'd say, because when you're down, you want to like push back as you're pushing up and kind of drive that bar back with your whole body if you can. If you can like think about that mental cue in a way.
Mm-hmm. And is there any maybe leg exercise that could actually benefit the bench that you've seen like maybe directly influence, or nothing really specific?
I don't know if there's anything specific. I think that it's like a whole nother point to bring up, like if you're trying to get a stronger bench, I think that it's vital that you're also, especially if you're like when you're natural, like
yeah.
I'm not saying I'm not natural, like I am natural, but like when you're natural, you want to like squat and deadlift heavy at the same time as like trying to like build your arms or build your bench. Like people don't realize how much it helps to be like doing those lifts where you can lift so much weight. Like it just, I feel like it like in a way, I don't know how to explain it. It kind of like raises your natural testosterone to be like squatting and like deadlifting at the same time as like trying to grow your arms, you know? Like I think too many people are like, oh, I don't need to work legs, I'll just work shoulders and arms all the time and chest.
Yeah.
And then like
they're missing out on a whole they're missing out on an array of benefits from missing training legs, dude. Like
it's like the dude that just trains arms every day is not gonna have the same arms as the dude that like deadlifts heavy once a week and squats heavy once a week, you know?
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. And hits arms. So
and even if your arms are a weak point, you can still train them on the same days you're doing those compound lifts, or you can just train them more frequently, you know?
Yeah.
Like if that's
100%.
If that's really your issue, then just add like a few arm exercises at the end of each workout, or just add more arm exercises in general, but still focus on getting stronger at the other lifts because like I'm sorry, your arms aren't going to be the factor why going to be the direct, like arm training isn't going to be the direct factor why you're going to have a stronger deadlift, stronger bench, and stronger squat and stuff like that. Like it'll be nice to have them and it'll improve it a little bit, but it's not going to be the make or break. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's not. It's definitely not. But like, it's just a matter of like training like legs just because they're such a big muscle group. I feel like it's just so important and vital to be like, I think as a natural lifter, it's the most important thing is like trying to get stronger. And I think that squats and deadlifts are just such a huge part of that, just in general, that if anyone's missing out on those, it's just like not in their best interest.
And Nick, honestly, I want to do maybe sometime in the next few weeks, we can do another podcast just on the squat, because I know you said that you've been working on it yourself a lot recently. And I just feel like there's a lot of mechanical things on there that we could cover all in one podcast. So I kind of want to save that for another one. But just kind of wrapping it up. So what would you tell someone who wants to get to the level of strength that you're at right now? I know you kind of just hinted at it that like if you're natural, just focus on getting stronger and stuff like that. But like, what's like the best advice that you could give to a person who's looking to get stronger, looking to improve their physique overall?
100%. It's first of all, you have to realize that like, I mean, everyone knows this. Everyone that like does any research at all, nutrition is like actually like number one. Like when I first dropped out, I learned nutrition by like tracking my macros, which was a pain, but like when you learn how to do it, it's not that much of a pain, and it's just so specific. Like there's no way to mess up if you're hitting your macros every day, eating 2 fruits, 2 vegetables. I mean, that's like definitely an extreme route, but make sure you're going for definitely hit your protein, and a ton of carbs, like before and after a workout. One of my like favorite carb sources is honestly just like mini wheats or like a cereal that has like whole grains in it, just because it's like easy to get down. It's a lot of carbs, and like post workout especially, eat a lot of carbs and protein. And when it comes to training, you want to prioritize strength. Like if you're doing a 3x10 on bench with 275, and then a month later you're doing a 3x10 on bench with 285, or I mean, wait, did I say 275 or?
No, you said 275 before.
Oh, but yeah. So if you're doing if you're like going up in weight for that same 3x10, then you're getting bigger. Like it's just so important to like be getting stronger and getting bigger at the same time, because like they literally just go hand in hand.
Like you literally got to give your body a reason. Like I was telling this to my friend earlier today, like you got to give your body a reason to not look the same as it did before.
Yeah.
And a perfect way to do that is just by getting stronger overall.
Yeah. If you're doing, I think it's so important also, like as a newbie especially, if you like keep track of your workout, I don't care whose plan you're doing because it doesn't really matter. But if you keep track of your workout, what you're hitting weight-wise, and you're not going up after 3 weeks of doing the same thing as a newbie, then you're either A, not eating enough, or B, not eating right. Because like there's like no way that sticking to that same program as a newbie for 3 weeks won't give you results if you're eating right. And then it's just from there the results are addicting, and then you'll just keep going up from there.
Dude, it is addicting to keep seeing results. And I think that's why we're at the points where we're at right now. And then someone asked me, he's like, one of my really good friends, he also asked, he's like, why do you keep going, man? Like, why do you keep doing this? Like, is there an end goal for you? And I'm just like, you know, man, like, not really. I'm just addicted to seeing the progress that I keep seeing. And I just really don't plan on stopping. Like, you can keep doing this, and it's literally benefiting you. There's nothing harmful about it if you're doing it the correct way. But I'm just addicted to progressing. You know what I'm saying? Like
I know, dude. And so many people have to realize that they're like, oh no, I hate working out. But no, if you do it right for just a couple weeks and see that progress, and if you're writing your stuff down, you'll see that progress in numbers. It's like one of those things where you'll just start to enjoy the process. And like now, I know for you too, like I'm sure you love the gym, and like the gym is just like the highlight of my day and all that. And like just eating is just like, I eat right because I want to like make that progress in the gym. So it's just like you just get to a point where you enjoy it. So it's not even like work. You're just now making progress over term or like over the long term. And it's great.
And that's not even like, like that's just the process too. That's not even like the outside benefits of everyone just being like, yo, like, you know, like I want to get to that point. Like, yo, you're literally like kind of like inspiring me to get in shape and stuff like that. Like, I'm like, okay, like that's not really the that wasn't why I started, but the fact that now other people are like, oh wow, like I really, like I see what you're doing. I respect the consistency. You know, I would like to get to that point. And I'm just like, dude, if I can do it, literally anybody on this earth can get in shape, dude. It's not rocket science. It's just like,
100%,
do some research, start training consistently, get stronger, hit your macronutrients, and that's like, I feel like that's like the key, man. Like, what do you think about that?
No, you're 100% right. That is literally the key. And like even like you were saying that you didn't do it to like inspire people and stuff at that time, like when you first started. But like even in my case, man, like my Instagram, I just made it so that I could see my progress, because I knew that I started, I was going to be giving it 110%. Like every single day, and I wanted to see my progress. So it's like I can go back 3 years and see what I was benching or what I was squatting, what I was deadlifting, or what I looked like, and I can see like my more recent stuff, and I'm just like, that's what 3 years of like eating right and training the way I've been training has been doing. So like it's just nice, man. That's like honestly why I started. I didn't think anyone was gonna follow me. Like I didn't want people from my school to find my like lifting Instagram, you know. But now it's just kind of like it's like my bigger Instagram, and I just like just gonna keep trying to like put stuff out.
And dude, I feel that so much. Like I really didn't want people in my high school to find it. I didn't even want people in my college to find it. But at one point I was like, dude, I stopped giving a fuck. You know what I mean? Like I stopped caring other people thought. I'm like, this makes me happy. Other people have come up to me and like tell me they want to get in shape because I'm posting this stuff, and it gets them hyped up. I'm gonna keep doing it. I don't give a fuck if you don't like what I post, then just don't follow me, man. Like, it's fine. Like, other people will follow me. I don't mind. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
that's it, man. Like, if like, that's the thing. You can't care what people think. If someone finds your workout Instagram or whatever that you didn't want to find it, first of all, if they follow you, that means they want to see your stuff, because they can see your stuff and they're like, oh, I want to follow you now. But you can't care, especially, I don't know, especially when you're like in high school and college and you like just have people like finding it left and right or something like that. It's just, you can't be caring what people think. You just have to post what you want to post, and just whatever your reason is doesn't matter.
Absolutely. And both of us being in college, I just feel like we've probably, I don't know if I definitely have, like, I've heard my fair share of like criticism about like the whole fitness page. Like, I've just been like, hey, if people come and be like, hey, NG Fitness or whatever, and I'm just like, yeah, that's me, motherfucker. Like, that's right. That's what I do. That's what I do. I help people. What do you do? You know? So I don't know if you've ever been in like a similar situation where people like make jokes about it and stuff like that, but
yeah, I mean, it's somewhat of a joke, yeah, for sure. There's definitely times where people kind of joke about it, but I'm just like, I mean, if you want to follow it, but like if you don't, you follow my other.
Exactly. Like, if you want in, that's fine. If you don't, I really don't care. I'm still stronger than you, probably.
Exactly. So.
All right, man. I think I covered all the points that I wanted to cover. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, man. I mean, the main thing is, if you're like trying to get in shape, if anyone watching this is just like trying to take that next step and they're not doing too much about it at this moment, you just have to like not see the long term for now, but think 2 weeks. Can I make progress in 2 weeks? And if you give it your all for 2 weeks, it depends on how much you put in, but if you just give it a solid 2 weeks of eating right and working out hard and you see those results, I just think that it takes less than you think to get addicted to the process of getting to a better you.
Especially if you're just starting off, man, because progress comes like that. I miss those.
That's what I'm saying. I know, man. I know. Mine like cycles and waves now. It's like right now I'm like fat and not strong, and like 6 months ago I was like very lean and strong. So, but yeah, it's definitely just like one of those things where you just have to see that progress, and if you're seeing that progress, you're gonna want to keep going. Like my sister never went to the gym, and then my ex-girlfriend like got her into the gym, and now she's going like all the time. So.
Dude, same. Yeah. My ex-girlfriend started.
I
brought her to the gym. She started going all the time.
Really?
I feel that, dude. I feel
that. Funny, yeah, bro. That's funny. But yeah, no, she was like really into working out, and she convinced my sister to go one time, and now my sister's going to Planet Fitness like 4 or 5 times a week, and she's like, Nick, I can notice the results. Like, look at my abs and stuff, and I'm like, exactly. See, now you're gonna want to keep going. And it like also pushes you to like eat healthier. If you like have a really good workout, you're not gonna go eat a pizza.
Exactly, man. Exactly. And I mean, yeah, exactly. So the way certain food makes you feel, like you're not gonna, after you realize how good clean foods make you feel, you're gonna be less inclined to go back to those like old habits. You know what I mean? Because again, like we talked about this, we touched on this earlier. You want your training to correlate with, feeling good about how you feel throughout the day and stuff like that, so you can have a good training session. So you want to have those cleaner foods in your diet. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, food is fuel, and like if people try eating healthy, it's one of those things that's also, I feel like, kind of addicting, because you just feel so much better if you're eating healthier than if you eat a pizza and you just feel like trash afterwards.
Exactly.
It's just such a noticeable difference that if you understand, you just kind of like get addicted to almost like how you feel eating clean. So.
And that's not even to say that you can't have pizza. It's just like, use moderation. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously you and me still enjoy like our pizza.
Use it as a reward almost. Like at the end of the week, if you ate clean all week, like have a cheat day or a cheat meal, which I always do. And I think it's good for boosting your metabolism too. Like, I think throwing down food at least once a week. I know I'm only 20, so like I probably won't be able to do it in like 5 or 6 years. But like for now, I think once a week, just like going all out on like a pizza or something, especially if you've just been working really hard all week, eating clean, I think it's needed, and it's just like it's something to look forward to too.
I got you, man. I got you. And, Nick, I think we're going to wrap it up, man. A lot of good stuff on this podcast, seriously, like even stuff that I just learned. That's what we do, man. We always learn. We're always progressing on our lifts, on our minds, and all that stuff. So, I'm glad I was able to get you on here, man. And hopefully we'll do that other podcast on the squat specifically, so you can kind of break down what you've done to build your squat so much. And again,
for sure.
seriously appreciate you hopping on here, man. And hopefully this will not be the last time that I have you on here.
Yeah, man. No, for sure. We can talk about that. And thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.